No, no, no.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Vanessa Boyce, and I will be the moderator this evening. Welcome to the Tobago Civil Net Conversations with the Candidates. Tobago Civil Net is a non-partisan group of Tobago civil society organizations and concerned citizens, all combining forces for the purpose of having collective input in Tobago's development. This body includes representation from education, agriculture, and the environment, youth development, arts and culture, tourism, and the business sector. Our key partners are Youth Voices Matter, Tobago Writers Guild, Tobago Entrepreneurs, Tobago Literacy Support, and Environment Tobago. And of course, this will be a professional discussion for the fair and balanced examination of all candidates for the THA representation. And we must let you know that all political parties and independent candidates were invited to the panels. We are currently being streamed live on Facebook and on Tobago Channel 5. And we invite persons who have questions for the candidates that you can share them by our Facebook page. So now, of course, I would like to introduce our panel this afternoon. We have the PDP candidate, Dr. Faith B. Israel. She's the candidate for Goodwood Belgarden. We also have Mr. Ricardo Philip, and he is the independent candidate for he is the independent candidate for Bukumam Pleasant. We also have another independent candidate for Bukumam Pleasant, and that is Nkosi Phillips. And then we have our PDP candidate for Scarborough Calder Hall, Mr. Trevor James. So I welcome all of you present, and I will begin with our questions. We have, as I said, some questions, but we invite those who are viewing on Facebook to please submit your questions that you have for the candidates. So I will begin. Our first question is, what qualifies you to be a representative for any seat in this election? And I will begin with Dr. Israel.
Good evening to the panel. Good evening to our viewing audience. Thank you for the question, Vanessa. What qualifies me to be a representative is the fact that I have actually been speaking on behalf of those individuals who are unable to speak to them for themselves, or who are unwilling to speak for themselves because of whatever circumstance they may be experiencing. That may be financial, that may be a social issue, it may be because they think they do not have the capacity to do it. And I have been able to speak on behalf of those people publicly, privately, professionally, socially, and so forth. It's something that I've been doing quite a bit. I've done it more publicly over the last 4 years since I've gotten into active politics, but it's something that I've been doing for as long as I can remember, including the fact that I have my foundation, the Imani Bet Foundation, which in itself is an avenue of advocacy for people living with HIV. It's a health education entity, and it also provides support for individuals who are dealing with fertility issues. So I've been representing people as far back as I could remember, and this is just an opportunity to do it in another sphere, or to extend the fact that I have been doing it in the political sphere to become an actual area representative.
Thank you very much. I too have been a recipient of one of your sessions, and I must say that it was very informative.
Well, thank you.
I will now go to one of our independent candidates, Mr. Ricardo Philip. If you can also tell us what qualifies you to be a representative for any seats in this election. Mr. Philip, your mic is muted.
Right. So let me say a special good afternoon, good evening to other members of the panel and my beautiful Tobago. I think for me, the ability to make the rallying call for the people of Tobago to understand the need to participate in this process. I am not the type of politician who thinks that I have the answer to anything at all. I think honestly that, especially in particularly in Tobago, the communities of Tobago are the ones responsible for building the community and by extension, building Tobago. So I think for me, my job is very simple. And I am not going to talk about my understanding or my insight or my vision for anything. Because I think the real ideas for Tobago lies among the people of Tobago. And so that ability, the simple ability to rally that call, to get people to understand and to appreciate the need to participate in this process. And I think that for me is significant. And that's why I think I am qualified to participate and to represent my president.
Thank you very much. I now turn over to Mr. Trevor James. Could you also tell us what qualifies you to be a representative for a seat in this election?
Hi, good evening all. Good evening to the host. What qualifies me to be a candidate, to be a representative of the people? I think that over the years, as I sat back and looked at what has been passing for representation in the THA, there seems to be a kind of idea that you must have years and years of community service, and you must be an individual, a man of the people. But I think that a representative must have balance. He must be that. He or she must be that. He must be able to connect with the people, to be able to consult with people, get their ideas, and represent them in the correct fora. But also, that person must be able to manage at the executive level. And I think over the years, my work experience, my training has afforded me the opportunity to manage at various levels. I started my career as a carpenter, so I understand the struggles of those who don't work in the system. I understand the struggles of those who work as daily paid people. And I am ended my public career as a manager at the Division of Settlement. So I think I've covered the whole gamut of public service. I've been involved in various associations. So I think that qualifies me in essence to understand the needs of people and to represent them in the correct forum.
Thank you very much, Mr. James. And our final panelist, Mr. Nkosi Phillips. The question, what qualifies you to be a representative for any seat in this election? Nkosi Phillips.
Okay, sorry, I know. Yes, I'm not getting to the. Yes. What qualifies me to be a political leader, representative, you say?
To be a representative
Yes.
in this election.
Right. What qualifies me? I think my humane service to the island of Trinidad and Tobago, the level and the type of work that I would have put out from since at the age of 13 years to this present time, my passion for life, liberty, and freedom, and the expression of representing not just one sector of society, but all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Um, I think my representation will speak for itself if people actually stop hearing and start listening to what I have to say and look back on the accomplishments of what I would have achieved without any assistance from the government or the THA and what I would have brought to the table. So I think my representation going forward would speak for itself.
Thank you very much, Nkosi.
Thank you.
Um, so our next question sort of builds from the previous question. What what are your strengths and weaknesses as a candidate in this election? So I will go with Mr. Trevor James first. What would you say are your strengths and weaknesses as a candidate in this election?
Well, I don't think in terms of weaknesses, so I will not speak to that. But I think if you want to represent people, then you want to serve at the executive level, then you must have demonstrated your ability to manage and to manage at a high level. And I think I have done that. I have worked all over the place. I have worked at the highest level in the public service. And I think I now have been prepared for this final journey in my life to serve all of Tobago and to impart some of my expertise and my knowledge to the management of the Tobago House of Assembly.
Thank you. Now I would ask Ricardo Philip, Mr. Ricardo Philip, what would you say are your strengths and weaknesses as a candidate in this election?
My work over the years with young people has been my real strength, my real blessing. I have, many years in Bukumon Pleasant in particular, and by Tobago by extension. And I think getting setting young people on the path of righteousness, setting people on the path of productivity and progress and so on, I think has worked well. We had to create a Tobago that we can leave for young people, for next generation. And if you don't prepare them, if you don't set the foundation, I think we'll be failing so much. And I think my strength really came from my experience working with young people and understanding the diverse challenges and the problems that they face that we take for granted. So I'm really excited and I'm really elated with my ability to move forward, to work, having built that foundation with young people. So I think that's a strength for me. As my friend Trevor said, I don't deal with weaknesses. And I look for all the strength, because there's always the possibility and there's always a hope in every situation. And you just have to find it and look for it. So I think for me, working with young people has always been a tremendous experience and a tremendous strength for me.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear talk about working with young people. I'll actually now ask Nkosi Philip, what would you say are your strengths and weaknesses as a candidate in this election?
Well, what I can say is that for me, way back then when I was younger, I may have weaknesses, but now I don't have no weaknesses at all. My strengths are the ability to get the work done, the ability to partner with and to work with everyone despite of whatever political affiliation and to communicate such. The ability to bring a difference to projects and proposals that is going to be worthwhile for everyone. Um, I think I have more strengths than weaknesses, and in order for me to show people the strength that I have, I should be given a chance because I don't I have not gotten the opportunity to show people what is it I can really do. And for me, honestly, entering this political realm, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was in a box and I was closeted. Like I couldn't understand how can I have the ability to do so much things and people are not giving me the opportunity to work. They're not giving me the opportunity to use the ability and the talent that I have. Because if I was a drug lord, if I was a rapist or a criminal person, I would have been respected and accepted. But because of I'm indifferent, they treat me differently and put me in that box and say, okay, good. They will leave that person in the background. We're going to use the ideas, but leave them in the background. So I think I have more strength than weakness now than before.
Thank you very much, Nkosi. And I remember you from years ago, always being involved in youth work, a youth ambassador, so on. So I'm happy to see that you're continuing your work because I know that you're very passionate about it. And of course, Dr. Israel, what would you say are your strengths and weaknesses as a candidate in this election?
Um, I would say that possibly my personal weakness is a strength as it relates to being a representative, which is the fact that I am an empath. I can see and feel, and the weakness part of it is that I internalize other people's pains, and because of it, I try my best to do whatever I can to ensure that other people are fine and that other people are okay and that other people have everything that they need to live comfortably. And that may be at the peril of my personal well-being at times. So that may be a strength and a weakness. I would say a specific strength as it relates to being a representative and possibly being in the executive of the Tobago House of Assembly is the fact that I am a process person. I think very critically about steps. I think very critically about time and space and what needs to happen for things to work well. And I'm able to process those things and work even in crunch time, works even in very difficult circumstances. I'm able to perform and do what needs to be done to get things. I personally believe that there's always an answer. It doesn't matter how difficult the problem is. It doesn't matter how far-fetched the ideas may be. There is always an answer to every single problem. And I think this is the kind of leadership that Tobago needs right now. Leadership that understands that we may be at a standstill right now, but with the right people, the right resources, the right thoughts, the right plans, the right processes, we could actually take this island to another level, which is why I think I am probably one of best suited to be a representative and to be in the executive of the Tobago House of Assembly.
Thank you very much. I keep getting from everyone that everyone has this passion and this desire to help those people in need, people that they meet. Because of course, part of the campaigning is going out on the streets and hearing from people, and I'm getting that there's that desire to help persons. You're hearing that you want to make a difference. You want to get in to make a difference and to help those who are really in need. So, is there a specific vision for your representation of the people in the assembly? Now, I know, of course, that Dr. Israel and Mr. James are in one party, so there might be one joint vision. Then we have our independent candidates. So, I would ask either one of you, as representative for the PDP, what is your vision for representation? If you have one together, if you want to say it separately, and then I will ask for the independent candidates to also give what is your specific vision for representation of the people within the assembly?
I'll let
So,
Dr. Faith go first.
Thank you, Trevor. So the PDP's vision is for includes several aspects. One is the fact that we believe in participatory democracy, meaning the people on the ground are the ones who know what is important, who knows what they need, and may just need a little bit of technical help getting to their greatest potential. Therefore, they should be part of the entire process as it relates to development. So that's one part, participatory development. The other aspect that we hold near and dear to our heart is the fact that we are doing this for the people. So our mantra, people before politics, is one that I think encompasses all of the spheres of plans for Tobago, all of the spheres as it relates to our mantra, all of the spheres as it relates to our vision for the island, is ensuring that the people who we serve are the ones who benefit most by all of our actions, and not necessarily the party, not necessarily our individual needs, but the people who elect us to represent them.
Mr. James?
I will go further to what Faith said by adding that the PDP has tried to run this campaign in a different way. Um, Everything we do has been followed by the other side. We have tried to demonstrate to the public that we are capable, that we have plans, that we have vision, that we can, to use one of our catchphrases, we can transform Tobago to the place that we all dream it could be. We have consulted in our mandates far and wide, and we have incorporated that information into the final document, into the final policies that we are now presenting to the people. So we have not attempted to prescribe our own ideas onto the public. We have gone out for years and we have captured those ideas and we are now presenting it as an option so that Tobago can buy into something that is real and tangible.
Mr. Ricardo Phillip, what would you say is your vision as an independent candidate in this race?
The people of Tobago, and by extension, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, has suffered from a fundamental problem, political problem since 1956. That is, we don't have the right foundation to build anything. And it doesn't matter what political party you represent if you don't understand the fundamental challenges that we have. And the fundamental flaws in our system is not going to make any difference. I could guarantee you that. You're absolutely not going to make any difference. And I'm one of the days when people are just prepared to listen to the promises that you're going to do better and I'm going to fight for you and I'm better than them and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't add up in terms of the reality of the day. The truth is that you can't change the existing reality by fighting it. You have to build something new that make the existing reality obsolete. And if you reaction to, in this case, the PNM politics, who have been in power for 20 years, is to just get rid of them, then you really doesn't understand and politics. So I think we have to deal with some of the fundamental problems, the way our election is run. There's some certain laws that governs us that really and truly, you can't even figure out where we're going with that. And I think if you understand those fundamental problems, if you understand the kind of constitutional protection and guarantee that is needed, that we must provide for the people of Tobago and Trinidad, if we don't understand those things, we are going to fail. We are going to fail just like the PNM has failed over the past 20 years. And I keep saying this, people think that it's not just a matter of getting into the election and promising and saying that you're going to do better and we understand your needs and so on. This is a time where we need and I want to agree with the PDP that you have to get the participation of everyone, but you have to provide that guarantee that listen, this is the new way we're going to move forward. This is the new way we're going to live. And it's not just about I'm promising this thing, because people are skeptical. People understand that politicians have a way of making all kind of promises before the election or during the election campaign. I mean, the election campaign is, and what holds you to those promises? Nothing. There's nothing, and that is what we have to protect. That is what we have to provide. Any aspiration for political office, for public office, one must be able to understand fundamentally first that we have to provide the kind of constitutional protection and guarantee, and that it allows, even for those of us who campaigning, those of us who wish to be elected, it guarantees that we're going to have to live by that as well. So my vision is to have that foundation, to rebuild the foundation, and then you take it from there.
Okay, before I turn over to Nkosi, I just want to remind our viewers to please share the live. And also for those now tuning in, today we're talking with the candidates in the THA election 2021. And that Tobago CivilNet is a non-partisan group of Tobago civil society organizations and concerned citizens, all combining forces for the purpose of having collective input in Tobago's development. So now I want to turn over to Nkosi, if you could tell us what is your vision as a candidate in this election?
My vision is to be a part of the democracy that we don't have in Tobago at this point in time. It's to be a part of something new, a new era of politics, an era of politics where every party works together, and an era of politics where we all build Tobago. What I've been hearing is one party build this, they build the country, they build Tobago. And why is that? Because you would have set things in place to remain in office, or you would have set things in place that win or lose, or trying to win that seat back. You will put things in handout. I always think that it should be fair across the border. Once you dissolve the parliament or dissolve the legislature, you shouldn't continue using the resources of the Tobago House of Assembly to win votes, to hand out free jobs, to hand out CPAP work. And there must be a policy in place for all these things. And I'm hoping that if given the opportunity, that's one of the policy I'm hoping to bring, that when the legislature is dissolved, parliament or whatever it is, we will not use the resources of the state to buy people's votes. You cannot take hand-me-downs from like CPAP work. You can't be doing this, and persons are there who are waiting years for CPAP work. So I just want to be a part of the democracy. I want to work with both political parties, whoever is in power. Let them have a definition, or how they say, they continue saying independence or single persons cannot be a part of the democracy, but we are part of the Representation of the People Act, and there is space for us, but there are things that are not put in place. For example, if an independent win, where does he or she get source of funding for? If you don't align yourself with the party, or if you give them the vote and then they still turn around, you don't get any funding. So I think policies like that, as I was mentioning to Miss Faith, but I asked her the question about that, and she said to me that there is nothing in place for a person who wins their seat. They don't have any funding for their constituency, which I find in 2021, if local government election can get that, we as or whoever is independent or single party running for one seat, that constituency or that person who wins that constituency must be given a sum of money to run the constituency for until the terms in office is expired. So I just want to be a part of democracy. I want to speak for the voice. For example, PDP, let's just say PDP speaks to PDP, PNM speaks to PNM. But who speaks for the people who doesn't have a voice? Who speaks for the special days kids? Who speaks for and hold the both parties accountable for spending or their actions in the parliament? Because you see, if PDP doesn't want to support PNM, they walk out. If PNM doesn't want to support, so there must be somebody there to oversee both parties or oversee the democracy, that it will go in line with what we want for our future generation, because we now have a youth parliament and they are looking on at us as politicians to make and to set an example. So I would just like to be a part of that to see where my input is. I have a wealth of knowledge in terms of project proposals and implementations to certain things that will fit the needs of our youths and the society and the constituency in which I come from.
Thank you very much. And I think you raised a lot of pertinent issues there and pertinent, very important points, because it even talks about our own system of elections, this Westminster system that we follow, where, as I said, it's party, and we don't have anything in place for independent candidates if that does happen. So it's something that we must consider, because in going forward, as you see, this time we had more independent candidates that we've had in the past, and it's something that we should consider in going forward. And my next question, I actually want to ask both our two independent candidates, you and Mr. Ricardo Philip. We are
That's not stop. I am not an independent candidate. I am a political leader representing unity of the people, I'm not an independent candidate. So I just want to change that narrative, because I've seen the media doing that a long time. I'm not an independent candidate. Our party just selectively chose to send one representative because we have a strategy that we're using. All right, so I'm not
okay.
an independent candidate. All right.
Thank you very much for clearing that up. So I guess this next question might not relate to you, but you can answer if you wish. We are in a situation where persons are accustomed to our traditional parties, the traditional parties that have, of course, putting in candidates for all the different seats. But as an independent candidate, well, I don't know if you want to answer this, or if I can go straight over to Mr. Philip as an independent candidate. Well, I'll turn over to him if he believes that he stands a chance when you look into a situation where people are accustomed to voting for an entire slate for certain number or 12 certain persons or persons who are probably not in your electoral district would not be able to vote for you. But do you think you stand a chance as an independent candidate where persons are accustomed to voting for a particular party rather than an individual?
Uh, Standard chance. You know, I am on a mission, and this mission is to sow the seed of a new political philosophy. And you know, I want to win. I want to win. The question of whether or not I stand a chance is not the most relevant question on my mind. Uh, More importantly, as I mentioned, as I said, I'm sowing a seed of a new political philosophy. Uh, the generally people vote for their favorite political party, and that's a given. And it's so bad now that political party, behave that all right, they don't win this already. There's no need. There's safe seat and all these kind of scenario that exists in all kind of type of politics. It happens in politics all over the world, but um, for me, if we understand the politics that I'm trying to bring, this new politics, the one that we can define now, we would understand that winning alone is not necessarily um, the sole objective. I know this is going to take some time. Change doesn't come easy. It takes time, and I am working continuously, and as I promised myself, not participate in the process, but to continue to seek every opportunity to speak and to share this new philosophy of inclusion, of accountability, and all the things that we talked about that has never been defined and has never been pursued in the way that it should be pursued. So, as I said, I am really excited about having this is the second election in the last couple of months that I'm participating in, and I think if I continue, whether it's a campaign or not, I think over a period of time I should be able to get this message out. So for me, that is important. Winning is important, yes, because I don't want to sound as as a candidate who's not interested in winning. I'm certainly interested in winning, but I'm more so interested in ensuring that uh, I present this philosophy, I present this idea, I sow this seed, and that this seed will germinate and grow in the months and years to come.
Okay, and I actually want to I have a follow-up question to that. You mentioned that, well, of course, it's your second election, and I was wondering, have you seen a change in persons' acceptance of you as an independent candidate from that would have been the general election to now? Have you seen any difference in how people perceive independent candidates?
Well, let me explain how this works. When you understand the psychology of people, somebody will know you probably in the community. I've been in the community of Bukumon Pleasant for a number of years in sports and work with young people and so on. The question for me is that do people know me enough to vote for me, to put me into public office? And you're going to be fair. You can't expect overnight success with these things. Even though you have people reacting different, I understand, and there's some sense that you're making sense, that you're getting to people, you're reaching people. But I am not sure if I have done enough within the last couple of months so that somebody could say, I am confident that this person, I can actually vote for this person. If you say to ask maybe the average person in Bukumon President, you know me, certainly I know the guy, but do you know me enough to vote for me? And this is the journey. This is the challenge. This is the fight. This is what I have to do every single day, that you get to understand what's in here. And more importantly, that I understand what you're thinking. The question has to be, and as I always share this experience, one time I was campaigning and two young guys asked me what I would do for them. So I said to them, the question is not what I would do for you, but what you would have me do for you. That seems to take them aback because it's not the type of politics that we're accustomed to. The politics we're accustomed to is every time there's a campaign, what you do for me? And you put in the pocket, you give them something, and you promise them something, and tell them, listen, when I win the election, you will get a job here, and all that kind of crazy stuff that happens, and that is what I'm fighting. So it's almost an uphill battle. So to change that kind of thinking, to change that kind of type of psychology, is not easy. It's a challenge. But I'm saying that day to day, you speak with people, you get the impression that people understand what you say. But have I done enough so that people will actually vote for me? That's a real question. I think that is what I need to focus on.
Okay, thank you for that. So the next question, I want to open it up to anyone who would like to respond. This is one of the most contested elections in THA history, and why do you think that is? Anyone who would like to give an opinion as to why do you think that this was the most contested THA election that we've ever had?
People are tired. People are fed up. People are, after 20 years of PNM in power, the one question I want people to ask themselves, whether you're PNM or you're a PDP or you're a independent supporter, what have you, the one single question I want you to ask yourself, and if we start doing this and we make more a sensible decision in terms of our votes and who we support in the future, the one question is you 20 years of PNM administration, how does that affect, relate to my personal development, the development of my family, the development of my community? How did that 20 years impacted on those issues that are important to me? And if you can clearly and sincerely answer that question, then I think your decision will be different. Because if you look at it, and this is not new. Everybody know the PNM is corrupt. Everybody know the PNM is a party of nepotism and discrimination. They know all these ills about the PNM. Every single election, the PNM comes out a month before, 6 weeks before, and they pave the road and they promise this and they stuff, they hold back things and wait until election time come to give it to you. And all these fooleries that they find themselves in during the election time. And it's this continuous desperation to hold on to power, desperation to power. And people start understanding this, people start seeing this. There are new party emerging, there are new independent candidates emerging who understand they no longer want to participate in the tomfoolery that they're constantly doing election over election over election. And of course, the power play, they run this country, this island like a mafia, so like some kind of mafia organization. They shift power so that certain people get into position and so on. They share the pie and what remains and the public gets it and so on. So I think people are starting to see this and people are starting to understand and appreciate exactly what's happening. Communities are still not developed. You see roads are still unpaved and unkept. And a whole host of young people are wasting on the sideways. So people are disenchanted. The challenge we face is that you have a society, electoral election where less than 50% or just up there about are the people who qualify to vote goes to the poll. And that has been happening for a number of years. 50% or just a little over of the voting population actually goes to the poll to vote. So it tells you something that the government and the party in power for the last 20 years have not been able to attract more people coming out, more people supporting the system, more people want to participate in the process. And as a result, they're losing the grip. So you find that a lot more people understanding this and a lot, they realize a lot of power is sort of slipping away from them.
Okay. And Mr. James, I see your mic is unmuted. You have another comment about this question. This is one of the most contested elections in THA history. Why do you think this is?
Well, I don't think it's one of the most contested. I think we still have a two-party system. Actually, last 4 years, we had 3 parties contesting all seats. So I don't think this is one of the most contested. What has happened is that, as Ricardo probably said, people have become more aware. And there is a certain desperation of the incumbent that has become more visible. And so in the public space, it appears as though this desperation is impacting the PNM in such a way that the perception of the public is that this victory might be lost, PDP might win. So there's that kind of desperation. But from the PDP side, we have been consistently building the party and we have offered solutions to the problems. And if you look at our campaign, if you listen to our leaders speak, you understand that we are moving forward in a direction to change the dynamics that impact people so they choose the representative that best suits them. And that is what is different. We have demonstrated by how we have gone about our politics that we are in fact the only alternative for Tobago. The desperation that you see has come from the other side, and it has caused people to believe that this is a hotly contested election. Because for once, and maybe rightly so, the incumbent feels that the probability of losing is very high.
Okay, thank you. And I would just like to remind those who are now tuning in, today we are talking with candidates in the THA election 2021. And a gentle reminder that the Tobago Civil Net is a non-partisan group of Tobago civil society organizations and concerned citizens, all combining forces for the purpose of having collective input on Tobago's development. And Tobago Civil Net extends an invitation to all persons and organizations interested in lending their voices to these discussions. Please feel free to contact us at tobagocivilnet@gmail.com or 487-9722, or you can also follow us on Facebook at Tobago Civil Net. And as we continue the discussion, Mr. James or Dr. Israel, we have a question here that's specifically for the PDP candidates, and it is, what evidence or what probably information you have that Tobagonians are ready to put more support behind the PDP than they did in the 2017 THA elections? So either you or Dr. Israel, you're free to respond to this question. What evidence do you have, or what information you have, or feedback you have from Tobagonians that they are ready to put more support behind the PDP than they did in the 2017 THA elections?
So I would take that. What we've been seeing since 2015 really is a growth of the party. As you would recall, the party started, well, even before the PTP came into being. Mr. Watson Duke contested the general elections and got, close to 2,000 or so votes in 2015. And then when we contested in 2017, that increased significantly. And now that when we contested the general election, even with only the 2 seats out of all 40 or 40 something seats, the PDP was actually the party with the third largest number of votes nationally, just with the 2 seats that we contested in Tobago for the last general election, which shows that we have actually been growing exponentially. And it shows that individuals are finally listening to us. I think the first election that we contested as a party, people were just still confused about who were these people and why were they there, and they were not listening. The last 4 years, I think the PDP, with the 3 members of the Tobago House of Assembly, we had an opportunity to show the people of Tobago that we actually can represent them and that we can understand their issues and that we can articulate solutions to their issues. And then if given the opportunity, we can then execute on those solutions for the issues. So I think the people are finally at the point where they are ready to say, we are sick and tired of what we've gotten. I think everyone who is honest with themselves would genuinely say, yes, we are not getting the best that we can get, and we have not gotten the best over the last 20 years. So it's now an opportunity. We now have a perfect opportunity to hand over reins of the THA, of the island, to a group of people who have been showing consistent growth over the last couple of years, who've shown that we know what we're talking about, who've shown that we are listening to the people on the ground, and who's showing that we are willing to go out and do things differently. I mean, even the way we selected our candidates, we went through an entire process that included a very independent screening committee that was willing to go and find everyone out there. And this was not based on the bias of the executive of the party and so forth. So I think Tobago and Tobagonians are finally recognizing that there is a real alternative, and the alternative is actually way better than what they've been getting. So they will give us that opportunity in a week and a half from now.
James, do you have anything to add to this?
I think if there is evidence, the evidence has been in the way we have canvassed. Each of our offices have had the opportunity to collect data, and the data, despite what the poll says, the data we have collected is trending to a victory for the PDP in more than 8 seats. So that reality is evidence for us.
Okay, thank you. We have another question here. It's a very interesting question, and I think I actually want to start with only because I think I could guess where he would his response. That is in Kosi Phillips. We have a question here. If given the opportunity, what assembly secretary position you would like to have, and what you'd hope to accomplish there? Now, I want to assume that he would probably go to sport and youth affairs, but I will turn over to Nkosi and let us know what, if given the opportunity, what assembly secretary position would you like to have, and what would you hope to accomplish there?
The first one is community development. That is the first one I would like to touch on because I think we have lost the sense of community togetherness and building back the communities together. Because, for example, at this point in age, even in Buku, we have it's Buku Coral Gardens, and we have neglected to say Buku Coral Garden that to represent Buku Coral Garden for the longest while. So we have a separation whereby sometimes the young men come down inside Buku, they end up fighting because, oh, don't come on here, you're not from here, and we have that. So what I want to do is community development, work on the community and work community projects, work on putting community projects for the young men, young women. Look at special needs kids. We have neglected special needs kids. And one of the discussion I had on a conference in December with Port Pakistan Women organization is that one of the neglected sectors in society is the special needs kids, and there are more sexual abuse in special needs kids than normal average kids, because you see we all have all different types of sexual abuse against them that, you know, for example, somebody autism, that person wouldn't know why they're being touched, how they're being touched. They wouldn't know how to speak up because they wouldn't have an idea as to what is sexual or what is not sexual. So I want to focus on building that community development first, building the trust of putting back a community together. It takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to destroy one. When you're supposed to be disciplining them, you're telling, oh no, he's a man, leave him alone. But yet when he's doing something wrong, you know, they back away and they say, is the mother who had caused that? So community development is the first one I will be interested in. Tourism is the second one I'll be interested in, because at the United Nations, I would have gathered a lot of partnership and international partnership. And I didn't go there at the women's conference to just not sell the organization of which I represented, but I went there to sell Trinidad and Tobago because at the United Nations, there in that conference, when I did a live and I asked persons, do you know where Tobago is? If there was 100 person on the line, well, 100 person that have asked the UN, nobody knew where Trinidad and Tobago was. People thought Trinidad was Jamaica. And I did the live aspire to show people. So tourism, I want to build the relationship because if you look in 2018, I would have brought the 750 persons from the UK. And I did that without any sponsorship from tourism, any sponsorship from the Ministry of Tourism, neither this division of tourism. I did that with my own pocket and the person who came to bring income to the country. So I have a close relationship with some of the sectors as we speak now. What I would have done is I'm starting to pull groups together from the first countries in the Caribbean we brought here. I started looking at groups in the UK. I looked at groups in United States and different international countries where I have partnership with the Slovenian government. I'm very close relationship with the Slovenian president and different ambassadors there. What I'm doing is looking at when the country or when the world is back to normal in some way. I'm looking at 2022, 2023 to start bringing some of those groups into the island. But I want to bring them to something because at this point in time, tourism is dead and tourism was dead before the COVID. So when they come back here, I want to work on what I said earlier before. Tourism and culture works hand in hand. You cannot have tourism separated from culture because let me tell you why. What is the product of Tobago? Trinidad, especially Tobago, up to now we don't know because I've said on numerous occasions. Let me tell you, when you go to all these people traveling here from tourism, I'm trying to cut it short. When they go away, they don't see any flights coming back. If you're coming back, you see one flight and the flight half empty, and we still have to pay for it. I've said on numerous occasions. First, we have to understand our product of Tobago. When you have the product, you put it and market it in a capsule. So example, when that team goes from the division of tourism to America, we'll say, okay, good. from January to February, we have the carnival season. The carnival season includes steel band, music, dance, whatever. We go down to March, April, where we have the Easter Festival, the Jazz Festival, and the Borough Days. Then you go down the line to October, and you have that. So you have a capsule of what actually works for tourism in the country. So when you go there now, that person or that ambassador in America will say, okay, listen, we're going to send 50 flights for January, February, that's the carnival season. We know it has something in April, May, we can send the next 50 flights and go down the way. So therefore, no, when you leave America, you must leave and come back and say, well, okay, we have organized flights, so we're going to send for the calendar of events that you have for the year. And then you don't have to go back. You then go to a different country, go to China, and you sell that capsule. You have to put the product of Tobago as a capsule, a marketing capsule. But we continue going and people lavishing the money and stuff. So to community development, then tourism, those are the two things that I want to work on. That's where my
Okay.
strength, my full strength is on.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Mr. Ricardo Philip, if given an opportunity to be a secretary, what position would you like to have, and what would you like to accomplish? What do you hope to accomplish there?
To me, it doesn't matter. Tobago is void of leadership. Tobago is void of ideas. Tobago is void of participation, general participation. And for me, even though I've been involved in sports and working with young people for a number of years, it really doesn't matter what position. The vision, the bigger picture rather, is to strengthen the islands, to create opportunities, to strengthen small business. There's so many challenges that you face across the board. It really doesn't, it's not confined to Bukum and Pleasant, it's not confined to Keenan, Bonacord, and so on. It's across the island. Tobago is in a real challenge. It's struggling to get out of the challenges that it's in for the past 20 years. So I think if I'm given an opportunity, I really want to be in a position of providing leadership, encouraging participation and ideas, thinking out of the box kind of thing, to really develop. This is what Tobago really needs. Tobago needs all its citizens participating in the development of the island. The island is not, it doesn't belong to the PNM in this case. It doesn't belong to the people that actually support the PNM. It belongs to all the people that live on the island who ready and willing to, as you can tell from time to time, people are willing to participate, willing to offer ideas and solutions and so on. And I'm not given that opportunity. And this is the kind of politics that we want to see in our politics that inclusive. When the election is over and the campaigning is over, it comes down to now managing the country administration. And you've got to separate that. And I think we are not accustomed. There are people who are actually born in this country who knows nothing else than corruption and nepotism and all that. Can you imagine that? There are people who are 18 and 19 years old who are born within the period of time, knows nothing else more than corruption and nepotism and discrimination and all of that. That's all they know. Can you imagine a future for these people if that's what they're going to get for the next 5 years, the next 4 years? It's frightening. And so we need to take this serious. And for me, it really is about leadership, providing that leadership in my business, in my extra activities. Young people I work with all the time, young people. It's a real privilege to shape young people and to fashion them and to mold them in the kind of individuals, the kind of citizens that you want them to be, who can manage things, who can take over things. And I tell them that this every single day. So that's really the objective for me. That's really the vision and the goal for me. If I'm in a position of leadership, I'm fine.
Okay, but you mentioned that your involvement in sports and youth and so on. So, what plans do you think? What would you like to see in those particular areas? Since you're talking about young people and young people understanding, having a better outlook on what governance is and on sport and so on. If you are given the opportunity to work in that particular division, what would you like to see? I'm just looking at sport and youth. That's if sport and youth continues to be a division. But yeah.
Everything is a sport, like in the rest of the world. If you could ride a BMX bicycle, that's a sport. We're creating an avenue, creating an opportunity for that. If you go on a skateboard, whatever you can do as young people, we create a sporting opportunity for that. We see it happening in America. You name it, BMX bike, anything that you're skillful on, they create a sports, create an opportunity for that. We at Tobago have just football and cricket and hockey and those narrow view of sports and development, and feel that everybody wants to be part in that. There are young people interested in boxing, there are young people interested in wrestling, there are young people interested in so many different things, and it's important to understand to hear the young people in Tobago express their interest in so many things that is outside of what we are accustomed to. And so for me, every opportunity becomes every activity becomes a sport opportunity for me, and that's how I see it.
Okay, I'll now ask Dr. Faith Israel. I know that you have been involved in health most of your life. So, if given a division as a secretary, is that the division you would be hoping to be a part of? And what would you like to accomplish? If not, what division you would like to work with?
Well, the leader for the team, the PDP team of Farley Augustine, has on several times kind of pronounced that if we win, I would be the secretary with responsibility for health. Like the others, I am willing to lead in any of the divisions because I think I have the capacity to use the knowledge that I have to gain the knowledge that is necessary to run any of the divisions. Specifically, though, my training is in public health, health management, health education, and all of those things, which is particularly why I was able to spend so much time educating the public and even making recommendations and predictions and so forth about how the health system should have functioned during the COVID-19 pandemic and so forth. So that is definitely the division I think that my team would want me to be leading. And if that is the case, I would want to use a model that looks at quality and quality management as our method of determining everything we do and a method of deciding what we change and how we move forward. And what does that mean? We all know quality is a term that's kind of difficult to define, but we all know when we get bad quality. It's hard to say when you get good quality, but we all are very quick to identify when we get bad service, bad quality. So really identifying the measures of quality, looking at the process, looking at the plant, looking at the outcomes, and ensuring that we get the best quality that we could possibly get with the resources that we have is going to be my aim over the next 4 years if Tobago gives me the opportunity to manage that division.
And Mr. James, what division, what would you like to be a part of? What assembly secretary position you like to have, and what would you hope to accomplish there?
Well, first off, we are in the unfortunate position where our constitution creates kings. Kings decide who does what and who goes where. That's one of the things that we must consider changing. Also, the idea that the traditional divisions that we have must somehow be maintained is wrong. Tobago has to come to the place where it thinks 10 years in the future. And if we do that, then we are going to have divisions that include all the areas of the sixth schedule. We have to begin to put a foundation within the THA where we are moving towards taking control of everything that is in Tobago. And I suspect that the PDP may move in that direction. My particular set of skills would see me probably go in a division that combines planning and works division. If that is the case, most definitely we would use the provisions of the town country planning and taking control of that to reorganize planning in Tobago, to rezone Tobago properly. I say to people that town and country planning is so critical because 1 month delay in approval of a project costs us 10 months of production. And when a third party has control of that, they determine your economic activity for a year, for 5 years. One disapproval of a project, one approval of a project causes us to lose out on whatever multiplier effect comes from an expenditure. So that's, for me, that's critical. In terms of works division, I think there is a need to reorganize how Works Division functions. But that also, everything is connected. What we have seen in Tobago over the years is that for many months of the year, employees of the division have no material. So that's connected to how division finance functions. So the whole system of the THA needs to be looked at, but certainly using my project management skill, it's a matter of incorporating project management concepts into the management of every division or any division that I am attached to, because that is the only way we can move forward. We cannot no longer have a situation where the Division of Agriculture can spend $80 million on a road or on a series of roads, and it is not tied to any fruit production. We don't know what volume of production will come from the expenditure of $80 million. And that is just an example, but it goes for all the divisions. When they go out and they look for people to come here in tourism, we don't tie that to a deliverable, something that can be measured. We seem to think that somehow if we just do the first level of the project, then the others will just flow naturally. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, I think what you said there probably could flow straight into my other question. Because as you speak now, I understand why, when I saw a lot of the ideas that you have for the Scarborough area and for development, I now understand why you put forward those ideas. And one of the questions we have here is, what do you think are the biggest issues or concerns for Tobagonians in your district? And I know that you have listed several of your plans. What do you think, however, the biggest concerns or issues, and probably that will tie back into some of the plans that you have for the area, for the district of Scarborough, Hall?
Well, despite the plans I've put forward, the biggest issues that I have seen in my walkabout is that hopelessness that keeps coming up, especially in the young men. They have no hope. Excuse me, they do not participate in the process, and a lot of lives are going to be wasted, and we'll see the fruits of that in 5-10 years. That to me is the biggest problem that Tobago, not only Scarborough, but Tobago will face. It's something that we will have to deal with because the consequences are going to be high. But in terms of answering a question in a traditional way, there is a need for the THA to become facilitators of the private sector. We need to ensure that the private sector can employ persons in Tobago. There are too many persons who are still asking for a morning walk or for a walk. We want THA walk. There's too much of that. We need to build a system. We need to look at our first level production capacity, and we need to build a supply chain from that, where if we produce 5 tons of avocado, we must be able to make some other product from that avocado before we export it. So along the line, we must have packaging, we must have washing, we must have the packages prepared, we must have the branding organized, because it's only when we understand the supply chain that we understand the impact of that would have if we provide human resources to fill that supply chain on the employment or lack of employment that we see in Tobago. So for me, every project that I look at implementing, the first thing I will consider is the impact on economic activity within the district and within all of Tobago. So my Scarborough plans, or my Show Me a Road plans, or my plan to develop something in French Fort is all geared to ensuring that economic activity could be sustained over the long period.
Okay, thank you very much. I know that Ricardo and Nkosi, I think both of you all have spoken a lot about helping young people in the area. I don't know if there's anything else you all wanted to talk about for the Buku Mount Pleasant electoral district. Anything else? Because the question is, What are the biggest issues and concerns for persons in your district? So I don't know if you all have anything else for your particular district that you wanted to raise, issues and concerns that you have, and that you hope to address in your district.
I just want to concur with Trevor. There's a sense of hopelessness among our young men in particular. Young people, just with, not just young men, but our young people. The lack of opportunities. And the last election, I talked about creating new opportunities, new industries rather, in agriculture and food processing. Trevor just touched on some of these things: food processing, in technology, in manufacturing. And these are all things that individual Tobagoans are doing on their own, struggling on their own, who manufacturing, joinery, and the person who making are making the juices, and a host of different ideas that people have struggling with. There is no support, real support for the private sector. And when you create a vibrant private sector, you really don't have to worry about tourism. You would create the right kind of economic activities that people, we don't need to be an island that is heavily dependent on tourism. And more importantly, tourists will come because we have all these new industries that we're developing in Tobago. What that does also, it creates an opportunity for us to export to the region and internationally to some extent. So there's the real tremendous potential for Tobago because like any other island or country in the world, Tobago has the ability to be able to create and to innovate and come up with ideas that will sustain itself. They've done that. They've proven that over the years. Under real struggle, and I think that Tobago can do it when it's structured. The government should be a facilitator. But I'll tell you this: the PNM style politics is one of a socialist politics where the only thing they understand is give me, help out, and hand out. That keeps you tied to them. So there is also always an expectation. But when election time comes, you know who give you, who help you out, and who hand you something. So you gotta vote for them. They find they find all the opportunities to spend money, but they don't spend money to create the right opportunities to develop our island, develop our people. They don't believe in empowerment. And this is what Tobago really needs: empowerment. You empower the communities, you empower. And there's the template and the plans that Trevor may have for Scarborough called the Hall is the same uh, need for Bukum and Pleasant and Palatuve and all over Tobago. Tobago is really one community. And you really want to, your development plan has to be consistent because in all the communities in Tobago, on the entire island, young people are struggling. There's hopelessness. I mean, if you understand what they're buying into now, it's really scary. The guns and all the expression is about guns and violence. That's the expression of the young people today. Guns and violence. I have to diffuse that every single day in terms of the narrative, in terms of the music that they listen to, in terms of the philosophy, in terms of the understanding. Guns and violence. They glorify these things.
All right,
Um,
thank you. Yes, I could see yes.
I tomorrow is my lunch. I wouldn't want to say too much, but what I would say is that the reason why I said that I have strengths, tomorrow you will see why I have strengths because what one of the things I would have done, I have an initiative for each community in the constituency. Every single what I would have done since after the general election was go to every constituency after 2 to 4 in the morning. I walked around in the constituency of Lowlands. I looked at the strengths and weaknesses, what needs to be fixed. I spoke to some of the persons on a daily basis. I did it in Mount Pleasant and I spoke to most of the active persons. So one of the major things that we have to look at is unemployment and how we treat with the types of unemployment because we have to look at persons that are coming with the narrative that they have to have a THA work. So as you said, we have to work on that. Um, what I'm putting in place is ways of putting them on an entrepreneurship level where they cannot depend on the THA, but depend on themselves and depend on their skills. And we have to activate that. So that's what I'm trying to put in place. And then given the opportunity, that's what I'm going to target, trying to get them off of the dependency of the THA. Unemployment is one of the major things in each of the community. Neglect of the roads and rehabilitation of the road. Seeing your representative. That is one of the top, beside unemployment, seeing your representative is one of the top. Let me give you one example. For the general election, a call came to somebody. Hi, do you have a party card? The person say yes. Well, we saw you on the party list and we want to give you, you got a food card? No, I don't have a food card. Okay, come and collect one. When the person collected, but the person had a permanent card already, but they still went to collect it. Come back and say, hey, look, I get 2 party cards. Good. THA election now, the same person got a call. Here this now. We saw your name on the list of electors and we know you have the party card. Are you voting for this individual? And they say yes. Well, you come and collect it, but I want to know you can come and collect one still. Now the person has 3 food cards in their possession. 3 food. That is the kind of level of nonsense we talk about the gimme attitude. So when you see that country, that is why I said there must be constitutional reform in the THA, especially regards to the spending when a parliament or legislature is dissolved. So it's going to be very difficult for independents. It's going to be very difficult for other parties because, as I said, the PNM has put this country in a lock that when it's an election time, they have to win because there are ways of winning by giving and letting people depend on the gimme attitude. And as I said to everyone that I've walked around with, I have nothing to offer but my knowledge, my ability to get the work done if given the opportunity to serve, and that is all I'm willing to give and to work hard and to be the representative that I'm supposed to be. Um, Unemployment, representation, and accountability. So that's all I'm trying to work on, accountability. And one of the major things I think to touch on Mr. James, or to add to him, the reason why I want to get in there as well is there must be a level of partnership with all the secretaries. For example, you are in the PNM administration and you all control everything. But because you're an assistant or a secretary in, let me just say, tourism, and your constituency lacks road problems, because you don't talk to that secretary or you don't have a good relationship, you can't get what you want. So you come back to us now in the village council and say, well, every time I ask for this, they want to give me. How come? This is not PDP and PNM or UTP or whatever it is. You are on the PNM executive. So you as a representative cannot come back and tell us when they ask for this, you don't get. When you are the only person I've seen stood up to them was Mr. Jomo Pitt. And he spoke about it, about certain secretaries getting what they want and they're not getting what you, and I am very proud and respecting to this day I do. So what we need to look at is that despite whatever side you are on, when you ask for something for your constituency, you must get it as a secretary or assistant secretary because one, you would have won the representation to represent the people, and then you became an assemblyman, and that is why we need the grant for assembly. Even though you're not in the opposition, you must receive a grant, and even working with the PNM or PDP, whoever chooses to win or whoever wins on that day, they must be able to give their assemblyman what they need for their constituency. So it's all about working together. And this is why I don't understand the rhetoric, oh, we are the ones who build in Tobago, we build in Tobago, but yet you can't give your own executive something for his constituency. So that is all I would like to add to the last statement that you made.
Okay, and actually, what you said there, I want to come back to it, but before I go there, Dr. Faith Israel, you're the lone candidate from Tobago East. So for your area, your electoral district, what are the biggest issues and concerns? And of course, that's the Goodwood Bell Garden area. Or if you have anything else for Tobago East, as I said, you're the lone candidate that we have. Well, sorry, Mr. James is also East, but I know that Dr. Faith, she's far East.
Um, so one of the things that I have been picking up, and it surprised even me because we hear the complaints about the young men on the block and the young men not being productive and so forth. One of the things that I have been picking up is, quite frankly, a lot of young men who are farming, who are fishing, and they want to expand and they want help. Now, the help they need is not, they don't want money. The help they want is technical help. They want to know how to grow their crops better. The help they want is help with marketing. They don't want, after they've been in the farm or fishing, that they now have to figure out where to go to sell these produce. They want that kind of help. They want help with putting the infrastructure together, getting the water and the lights and those high cost types of infrastructure. That is what they want. And I think I have also been pleasantly surprised by the sheer number of young men who you see on the street and you pass them thinking that they are just bums and they are just, limers and they're just on the block. But when you actually meet them in their space, you recognize how much they are actually producing and how competent they are and how much they are willing to be a part of the process, but they are not being we are not looking at them, we are not embracing them, and we are looking at the outside and casting them in a particular light and not allowing them to really really be part of the process of development for this island. So I want to pay particular attention to those groups of people because they are the ones who we assume are going to be a problem later down. But if we grab them now and if we provide the support that's necessary, that I think that could shift the entire trajectory of the island and particularly of the East, but the entire island, because I'm finding them all over the island. So that's one thing that I think I wanted to specifically mention for this area. We don't overlook the guys on the block. Don't just pass them straight. They have a lot of ideas. They are actually working. A lot of them have plenty sheep that they go and take out in the morning. They do their gardening before they come out and lime on the block. And it's just part of life for them being on the block. But there is a whole other part to them that we need to embrace and we need to help develop.
All right, thank you very much. And I just want to remind those who are listening in that today we're talking with the candidates for the THE election 2021. Tobago Civil Net is a non-partisan group of Tobago civil society organizations and concerned citizens, all combining forces for the purpose of having collective input in Tobago's development. All of you who are listening in or watching on Facebook, I encourage you to share the link so that others could join in or even look at the link after the stream has finished. Tobago Civil Net extends an invitation to all persons and organizations interested in lending their voices to these discussions. And please feel free to contact us at tobagocivilnet@gmail.com or 4879722, or you can follow us on Facebook at Tobago Civil Net. So, as I said, I had a follow up on what Nkosi was saying about representation and so on. One of the questions we had is that many persons complain that assemblymen who are secretaries do not sufficiently represent their districts since they're often too busy with secretary duties. And what do you think? I mean, I know the way how our governance system is set up. It's sort of set up in a way that once you are elected, then you're serving. I know there are several other systems worldwide where persons who are selected as representatives do not serve in ministerial or, in our case, secretarial positions. They only serve the people, and then you elect separate persons to run your executive. So the legislature is separate from the executive. But in Trinidad and Tobago, both at the general level and at the THA level, our executive and legislative, they combine, where the persons who are selected, who are voted in, they serve on the executive. But to our candidates present, what do you think about that? That assemblymen who are secretaries do not sufficiently represent their districts since they're often too busy with secretary duties. What do you think? And since I have Dr. Faith was the last person, I could probably ask you, what do you think about that?
I think that it is a critical point because it's a matter of time management is what you need to do. But I think if there is a will, there is a way. There are people who are able to decide that they are going to continue being representatives even if they have a secretarial position. But I think it's also a systemic issue. For example, one of the things that the PDP is going to put into place is having continuous, at least once per quarter public accountability meetings with our electoral districts. So if nothing else, you must be in the electoral district speaking with them at least once every 3 months. And it's not going to be one of those where I just come and say, blah, 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 oh, you have to make an appointment. No, this is me coming back and saying, hey, 2, 3 months ago, this is what we spoke about. This is how far we've gotten. This is why it's not complete. Or hooray, we completed it and we're going to move on to the next project. Having those kinds of accountability systems built in is what's going to help you manage your time. So, it doesn't matter whether you are the Secretary for Works or Health or whatever, you must also represent the people that elected you, because that's part of what the system is expecting. That's part of what your party expects. And that is something that the PDP is going to put into place when we get into office in a week and a half.
Okay, Mr. James, what are your thoughts on that? That people believe that assemblymen who are secretaries do not sufficiently represent their districts since they're often too busy with secretary duties.
Well, I think if you cannot be a representative and be a manager, then you ought not to be in politics. Any secretary who says that he doesn't have time for his people is someone who you ought not to vote for. Any secretary who has demonstrated over time that he cannot even put an organizational structure in place to manage his constituency because he has an executive position is someone who is not worth his salt and cannot and should not be selected in this contest. If I certainly don't believe that at all. I think it's as simple as developing an organizational structure and allowing that structure to manage the constituency with your input. In any case, you have constituency meetings every month. You are in your constituency offices at least once a month. So if you can put a system in place to ensure you are gathering the data and the persons who want to meet you and make the time for that, then to me, something is wrong with that.
It
Okay. Oh, yes. I'm hearing someone.
Right. According to Mr. James, that's right. Management skills. One of the things that I would have put in place, in my manifesto, is a committee in each community, each village in the constituency that I'll meet with, despite whether coming from parliament, I keep on saying parliament, the legislator, I will make sure and get the information. There are certain committees that I would have put in place to deal with the issues in the constituency. So management is one of the issues there, because if you don't manage your time and manage people, because you would have had people working with you, so therefore you put in each community or community center, you have the community center, and there are community centers in each constituency as far as I see. You utilize the community centers, you utilize your time. For example, you say, okay, Monday I will deal with lowlands, and Wednesday I will deal with Buku, then Thursday or Friday will deal with each constituency. So what I would have put in place is time. I already did it already. Put time management for the places, with the location of the places. I put manager time. Look at what date is debates in the legislature, and then when are my free days. When are my secretary days? If I have a secretary position, just saying, right? And I would have put that in the manifesto already, and I have that. You see, what I do is think way ahead. Think as if I am there. Think as if the position is mine, and that's how I think. That's how I plan. That's how I eliminate the process of people saying, okay, if I put it there, it'll be like the same people. Because, for example, if I'm a chief secretary, and I will say, well, okay, I win my seat already, so I don't have to walk up, and I will send my people to work for me. That's the kind of level of thinking we're having right now. So I don't want to be like that. You elected me. When you asked to see me, I already bought a cell phone, and I give people that number so they can contact me. It will not be changed like some people will change a number as soon as the election is finished. I put a number there. I created Facebook page. I created persons to sit on the Facebook page and to run the Facebook page. Anytime, as soon as you send a message, we respond one time. So, as I said, management. And those are the things that I would have put in place as the political leader. I have already put those things in my manifesto. I would have put certain types of program for each community that addresses the community needs. So it's not every community will have the same. For example, if we're doing football in Buko, we wouldn't have football in Lowlands or Canaan. Based on where it is, we have different things for different communities.
Okay. And finally, Mr. Ricardo Philip, yes, what are your thoughts on that? That our assemblymen who are also secretaries usually don't have time for persons in the area that they represent.
When you run a election campaign with the promise that you'll do this and do that and call me and take my number and you do that for everybody, what eventually happens after you get into office is that people actually take those promises seriously. And they start calling your phone and they want this and they want that and they want that. And so you start hiding, you start changing your numbers, you start not answering your phone because you cannot deal with everybody. You're not God. And so people start getting disenchanted. You promised me that you would give me a work. You promised me you'll give me this. You promised me you'll give me that. And that results in what? I ain't seeing that. You're not representing and so on. So they set themselves up. The type of relation, type of campaign that they run, they set themselves up. And this is why it's absolutely necessary that when you are campaigning, you get from people what they will have you do. This idea that you're going to promise this and promise that and promise that will catch up with you. And basically, this is what happens in a lot of cases where uh, secretaries can't answer the phone. They change their numbers. They don't want to see this one. And what are you calling me for? And you have that all those type of reaction, having made these promises. I remember some years ago, one person told me, I was supporting, but this secretary promised me that if he wins the election, I will get a contract to clean some schools. That is the kind of reality that people are dealing with. And people are taking these things serious. So they start planning their lives around these promises and they will hold you, responsible to take it serious. So when after election time, when they call you and you can't deliver, because you certainly can't. You can't just pick up job and give it to people. You can't just pick up money and give it to people. You can't just do all these things and give it to people, these promises. And so that's basically what happens. So if you develop the right type of relationship with your constituents in the relationship that allow your constituents to help you resolve some of the issues and resolve some of the challenges that you face. You will not have to be hiding from people and not answering your phone and people complaining that they're not seeing you and you're not representing.
Okay, and we actually have one question from Facebook, and I want to ask this question quickly before we wrap up. And I think it'll be more targeted to Dr. Israel and Mr. James. Are you averse to the selection of an opposition member for a secretarial post if you are the governing party? So that question again: are you averse to the selection of an opposition member for a secretarial post if you are the governing party? So, Dr. Israel or Mr. James, either one of you, if you can answer. And I'm only asking both of you because you all are a part of a party that has candidates for all seats. So if that question probably will only be applicable to you two.
Sure. I would personally, I do not have an issue with it. As a matter of fact, one of the things that the PDP has been saying from the beginning is that we are welcoming everyone and we are open to everyone, everyone who loves this island, everyone who is competent and wants to be a part of the development of this island. You are welcome to participate in its development. Now, for example, if you look at and the specific country slips me, during the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, there actually were countries where the Minister for Health there was one country where the Minister for Health got sick and they had actually used one of the opposition members who was a medical doctor, I think, as Minister for Health. So it is something that actually happens, and it has happened within the last couple of months. We've seen it happen worldwide. So it's not a matter of whether it can happen or not. It's whether we are willing to do it. And I think the PDP has always said that we are open and willing, and anyone who is competent, because as you know, as Trevor said, we are thinking about Tobago, not just a Tobago for today or a Tobago for 5 years, but a Tobago for 20 years down the road. And we have to look at the structure that the THA needs to have for a Tobago that is 20 years down the road. And it's possible that one of the members of the opposition may actually be more competent in an area that we need to work on now to ensure that we get there 20 years down the road or 10 years down the road, and we can figure out how to do this. By the way, the THA Act does not speak specifically and does not say that you have to be a member of the winning party to be on the executive. It doesn't speak to that specifically. So it's actually possible within the Tobago House of Assembly. We will see how it goes. Personally, I have no issue with it.
Okay, Mr. James, you have anything to add to that?
No, that was well said. One of the mantras of the party is we are building a team of those who are willing and competent. And if there are members of the opposition who are willing and competent, and we see a need to involve them, then I'm sure that Mr. Fadi Agustin will.
Okay.
Just don't forget me. I'm right here.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Nkosi Phillips, yes.
I'm just saying to Faye, don't forget me. I'll be a good willing opposition.
I will never forget you, my dear.
All right, and we are coming to the end. So now I want to invite each person to give their final thoughts, anything they want to leave with our listening and viewing public. Any final thoughts? So Dr. Faith, I will go with you first.
Sure. Tobago, we have an opportunity now to create history. We have an opportunity now to actually change the course of this island. We have an opportunity now to not be afraid. We have an opportunity now to plant the seeds that will grow and that will become real trees 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And it's important for all of us to recognize that we have to use that opportunity. January 25th is probably the greatest equalizer that Tobago has ever seen, because it doesn't matter who we are, it doesn't matter what we bring to the table. On January 25th, as long as you are registered to vote in Trinidad and Tobago or in Tobago, you are equal to every other person who can vote. And it's something that we need to take seriously. It's something that we need to use that strength and use that leveling playing field to ensure that we shift the course of the island. And of course, I am going to be biased to ensure that you vote for the PDP so that the PDP can become the next executive of the Tobago House of Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. Ricardo.
To me, it's just so sad to see the struggles of opposition, the opposition parties, opposition politicians. They really struggle to create a credible alternative. And I am, you know, it's almost like a individual battle to understand the importance of having addressed some of our fundamental issues. Um, we're trying to convince people that we will do better, and that alone is not going to cut it. And as a matter of fact, that is almost like giving the current administration the power to win the election. People want more, to see more. People want to be assured. They want to assuage their fears and their apprehensions about participating. You want to really give them this confidence that, listen, you can participate without fear. You want to offer them the kind of protection and guarantees that is absolutely necessary to take them out of this deep psychological trauma that we've experienced for so many years. Simple promise alone wouldn't cut it.
Thank you very much. And Mr. James, your final thoughts?
I always want to end these things with an appeal to my constituents of Scarborough, an appeal to Tobago that we once again have the opportunity to make a choice. Our forefathers died in the struggle for freedom and the ability to vote. So I want to appeal to all persons who are registered to come out and vote. Too many elections have been decided by a minority vote because many of us has allowed that feeling of despondency to take hold on us, and we give up feeling that all things are the same whether you vote this or that. The reality of Tobago today is that if you do not vote, you are saying to Tobago and to the world that you are happy and you are content with what exists today. And we know what exists. It has been out. What exists is that the main thing is that corruption is rampant across the THA. The Auditor General has been saying it for years. We have an opportunity again to decide whether we want that to continue, whether we want to be controlled from Trinidad, or whether we want to be men in our own houses and build the new Scarborough together.
And finally, Nkosi Phillips, your final words.
What I must say is the vote is a precious thing. It is the most powerful non-violent tool we have in a democratic society, and we must be able to use it. Um, what I want to do is say to the people of Tobago that this is a time for all parties to work together to rebuild and to realign where we go from here. 2020 was the beginning of a new world order to move forward into 2021. And with that new world order, there must be unity. I am appealing to the candidates and appealing to all party leaders to have a sense of ethics. We would have signed a code of ethics, and I am very displeased, especially with the mudslinging with each candidate. The people on the ground, they are fed up of that type of rhetoric. And I'm going to continue to be clean in my campaign, and I ask that for all the parties here to spread the word out. People come out on January 25th and exercise your democracy. Uh, you do not exercise your democracy, you don't have a voice. That's what they say. But at the end of the day, you leave room for the same nonsense to continue to take effect. So all I will say is that I wish each candidate the best. I am praying for the health of candidates who have fallen. Um, Hoping that on election day we all will be given a chance and the opportunity to serve. But you could choose me for the winning, which is very good. And tomorrow I will be launching tomorrow at the integrated facility, Boko integrated facility. So I will be able to actually give ear to the ground as to what are my future development for Boko Mount Pleasant. And as I say, good luck to all the candidates. Lots of respect and kudos to each and every one and every party, and people come out and come out and vote. This is your time. This is the time. Young people, especially. I am appealing to young people. Young people. Let me just put this out there. On the stretch, while walking, when you some of the senior citizens, I went to one house. Me, I want to hear later. Once I get my pension, me and care about young people. That is what some of the senior citizens using the narrative they're using. So this is the time for young people to come out, vote, vote for representation, vote for persons you're accustomed seeing, vote for persons in your community that you know would represent the interests of the people and not the interests of their party and their pockets. So that is my final appeal to everyone and to the people to come out on January 25th and vote.
Thank you very much to all the candidates. We want to encourage those who are listening to stay tuned. We'll be having conversations with the leaders on January 18th, and it will be live on Channel 5 and, of course, and on our Facebook page. And of course, we will continue to have the conversations with the candidates on the 19th and 21st of January, so right up until the election. And for those who tuned in today, we spoke with candidates in the THA election 2021. And of course, Tobago Civil Net is a non-partisan group of Tobago civil society organizations and concerned citizens, all combining forces for the purpose of having collective input in Tobago's development. Tobago Civil Net extends an invitation to all individuals and organizations interested in lending their voices to these discussions. Please feel free to contact us at tobagocivilnet@gmail.com or 4879722. Follow us on Facebook on the Tobago Civil Net. So thank you to all our candidates who we spoke with this evening. Thank you for taking time out to share. I believe that all our viewers and listeners, they were very encouraged and very pleased with what they heard. And I wish all of you a wonderful, clean and respectful campaign as we continue until January 25th. All the best, each of you, and thank you to everyone who tuned in. Have a good evening.